Objects don't move on their own. That is one of the foundational rules of the physical world. And yet, there are things in certain houses, in certain rooms, in certain collections that don't seem to follow that rule. Objects that are in one place when you leave and in a different place when you come back. Objects that make sounds they have no mechanism to make. Objects that seem, against all reason, to be aware. 3 stories tonight about objects that behaved in ways that objects are not supposed to behave. 3 people who owned or encountered something that moved when it should have been still, or spoke when it had no voice, or knew things it could not know. 3 objects. None of them explained. All of them still out there somewhere. Antiques. Her house was full of them. Furniture, dishes, jewelry boxes, clocks, all manner of old things acquired over 60 years of hunting estate sales and antique shops. She knew the provenance of almost everything she owned. She was meticulous about it. After she passed, my mother and her cousins divided up the collection. My mother took, among other things, a music box that my great-aunt had bought at an estate sale in the mid-70s. Small, wooden, with a porcelain dancer on top that turned when the box was wound. It played a waltz. My great-aunt had never been able to identify the piece. She said it wasn't any waltz she recognized. The music box sat on a shelf in my mother's living room for about a year. It was beautiful. We wound it occasionally, listened to the waltz, admired the dancer. Nothing unusual. Then on a Tuesday night in March, I was visiting my mother and we were watching television when the music box began to play. No one had wound it. No one had touched it. It was sitting on its shelf on the other side of the room, and it began to play its unidentified waltz in the silence between 2 scenes of whatever we were watching. We both looked at it. It played for the full duration of its winding, about 90 seconds, and then slowed and stopped the way it always did. My mother looked at me. I looked at her. Neither of us said anything for a moment. Then she said, "That happened once before, about 2 weeks ago, at night, when I was alone." We wound it ourselves after that, to compare. The sound was identical. The box worked only when wound. There was no battery, no mechanism for self-activation. It was a purely mechanical device that required manual winding to operate. It has played on its own 4 more times since then, always at night, always for exactly the duration of a full winding. My mother has refused to get rid of it. She says she thinks my great-aunt is fond of it. I don't have a better explanation, so I've stopped trying to find one. I bought the painting at an auction. It was in a lot of estate items from an old house in New England, the kind of auction where you buy a box of miscellaneous things and sort through them later. The painting was in the box, wrapped in newspaper. Oil on canvas, perhaps 12 by 18 inches. Portrait of a woman in what appeared to be early 20th century clothing. She was not beautiful in the conventional sense. Strong face, dark eyes. She was looking slightly to the left of the viewer, which is not uncommon in portraits. I liked it. I hung it in my hallway. The first thing I noticed, maybe a week after hanging it, was that my cat would not walk past it. She would go to the end of the hallway, see the painting, and turn around. She had been walking that hallway without issue for 3 years. After the painting went up, she stopped. The second thing I noticed was that guests would pause in front of it, not to admire it, to feel observed by it. 3 separate people, on 3 separate occasions, said some version of, "That painting watches you." One guest refused to walk under it. The third thing happened one night when I was home alone. I walked past the painting in the hallway and had the distinct, overwhelming impression that the woman in the portrait had moved her eyes, that they had been looking left, as they always were, and were now looking directly at me. I stopped. I stared at the painting. The woman looked left, as she always had. Nothing was different. I took it down the next day. It's in my storage unit now, wrapped in that same newspaper. I've debated getting rid of it entirely. But every time I decide to, I think about those dark eyes. And I can't quite bring myself to do anything that might draw attention to that decision. Which is not a rational thought. I know that. I know that. Someone left it on our porch. That is where this story begins and where, in some ways, it ends, because we never found out who left it or why. It was a doll. Old cloth body, porcelain head and hands in a yellowed dress. Sitting on our porch when I came out one morning. No note, no box. Just the doll, sitting upright, facing the front door. My daughter was 6, and she loved it immediately. Insisted it was a gift. Insisted she could keep it. Against my better judgment. And I acknowledge that my better judgment was right. I let her. The first week was fine. My daughter named the doll Clara and carried it everywhere. Normal little girl with a beloved doll. Then my daughter started telling me what Clara said. Clara said there was something under my daughter's bed. Clara said the man at the end of the street was not nice. Clara said that our house used to belong to a family with a sad little girl. I checked under the bed. Nothing unusual. I didn't know the man at the end of the street well enough to evaluate the second claim. The third I looked into, and found that the family who had owned our house before us had indeed had a daughter who died young. Information my 6-year-old had no access to. The night I found out about the previous family's daughter, I went to take the doll from my daughter's room. It wasn't where my daughter had left it. She'd put it on the chair by the window before bed. It was on the floor in the middle of the room, facing the door. I took it, put it in a bag, put the bag in my car and drove it to a donation box across town the next morning. My daughter was upset for a week. Then she forgot about it, the way children do. 18 months later, she mentioned Clara once, out of nowhere, in the car, and said, "Clara found a new little girl to talk to." I didn't ask how she knew. I haven't thought about it too carefully since. Some things are better left where they were left.